в онлайн. О, до речі, я дізнався, що в YouTube студії є чат, але в вебі.
Ага.
Правда логічно, блін? Я зараз спробую подивитися, як, власне, з цим звичайній YouTube студії. Я взагалі тут не бачу, типу, того стріму, який йде зараз. Ну, типу, я так розумію, що саме тому і тут нема чату. Бо нема нинішнього стріму.
Что у вас в жизни происходит?
Війна.
Така херня, да. Невеличка. Як думаєш, скільки я ще буду тут шукати останні відео, замість того, щоб гратись?
Да.
От мені теж так каже, здається. Все. Задовбало. Де там ютубчик?
Мгм.
Я все сподіваюся, що в мене хоч хтось.
Хоч хтось смотрить?
Просто проблема в том, что ты не голый.
А проблема в тому, що мене не видно взагалі, не те, що я голий. Ну, типу, ніхто не
Ну
знає, чи
да,
голий я.
да. Ну да.
То есть, по-твоему,
Тебе
проблема в том,
камера
что на стриме нет голого человека?
Ну и
Це,
это
це теж
тоже.
не точно.
Ну нет, все равно нужно хоть какая-то картинка нужна.
Не, ну, Лик, ну ты можешь это решить, как бы.
Не, я не буду
Ты,
это
ну,
решать.
ну, а зачем ты тренировалась тогда в бассейне?
М,
М. Так-то я очень часто так делаю.
Ну вот, так тем более, слушай, не
Так
привыкай,
она,
давай.
блин, слушай, это не то.
ну,
Да-да-да-да.
окей, поставимо принаймні завантажуватись гру. Ще нам треба перемкнутись, щоб вона її кепчурила. Тидиц. Тидиц. І секундочку. І тидиц. Оце. Тидиш. Ну, власне. Я лишаю англійські субтитри.
Я думаю, да.
Have you played the Stanley Parable before? Ну, типу, да. Я навіть не знаю.
Ты играл в
Я
Stanley
грав,
Parable?
але я не знаю, що краще тут вибрати.
Но если
М.
ты... Насколько сильно ты играл? Насколько много ты концовок видел?
Я взагалі не жодної концовки не бачив.
А, ты напиши
Я
Если-
мне.
Как
не дійшов
можно?
до кінця.
Как можно не дойти ни до одного из скольки 27 концей в оригинальном?
Да. Ні,
Серйозно?
можливо, то і була кінцівка, але я не чув.
Хорошо, а что ты помнишь?
Нічого вже не пам'ятаю. Давно це було, коротше, не грав. Все, задовбало.
Да, похоже, не играл.
Задовбало, я ж кажу. Все. Де моя кола? І го грати. Що таке? Please adjust the slider until the computer is barely visible. І як його аджастити? От тут прям мишкою. Barely visible. Ну, власне, якось так. Please enter the current time. 23:30, круто. 11 p.m. Ні.
А, ну он дешевенький.
А подивитись він не міг в системі? Accessibility settings. Окей. Відео. Та. Я поставлю 143. Borderlands. Можна без вісінка. Apply resolution. Keep resolution. Anti-aliasing, окей. Quality profile. High. Окей. Music можна трохи поменше. Десь там на фоні. General. мене нема контролеру. Окей, нормально. А мені потрібні translation labels, якщо я граю і так англійською?
Я думаю, нет.
Мені теж так здається. Ну, поїхали. У вас звук є?
Да.
Да.
Good.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Власне, оригінально так само починалося.
Ну да.
Що я тут нічого не можу зробити? Взагалі нічого. Окей.
All of his co-workers... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth?
Скільки там, 420?
I can't just give these...
Не знаю.
Мені здається,
a
420.
measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Мені здається, 420.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this
Я
achievement to
сейчас
have meant
собираюсь
something. It has to
набивать
be a
400.
true reward for
Да.
valiant
Ну я
effort.
вже
I want to see
50
some
кликнув.
hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way,
Commitment.
no matter what the cost.
Можливо,
Why don't you go
430.
put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Окей. Пішли шукати 417. Це десь тут.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Це назад. Ні, не назад. Добре. А,
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415. Це трохи далі.
Now, back to door number 437.
Он издевается.
Ну, власне так, тут вся гра про це. Я ж тобі казав.
Ну
Let's
да.
see. How about you click on, well, I don't know,
Ну не
the
вся.
copy machine.
Copy machine. Де.
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Як клаймбати?
Прыгать ты не можешь,
You
поэтому
can
тебе
jump,
нужно...
get your first achievement. Отлично. Просто
А,
супер.
да, точно.
Achievement мы не дали. І що далі?
Забирайся на эту самую, на
На що?
доску.
Як?
А, или ты запрыгнул уже?
А, отак. Типу, я намагаюсь джампнути, і мені не дали ачівку.
Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Там десь не біля мене.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine do that one again!
Тут нема, так? Ага. Окей. Чоліко, впізнаєш офісну роботу?
Finish it off, Stanley! 5
Да, у
clicks
меня
on
прям
door
такая же. То же самое.
430.
420 кликов на дверь.
We did it!
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it,
Я
Stanley.
каждый день
Nothing could
хожу,
hold you
прыгаю
back.
по
Yes, I'm
столам.
very proud of how
That's-
far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking?
Ну що, пішли далі по сюжету.
Да, конечно.
Що сюди нас теж не пустять? Ні. I hate Mondays.
Почему?
Там так написано.
When Stanley
Слухай.
came to a
Ну
set
да,
of
но
Слухай,
вот
слухай.
почему?
he entered the door on his left. This was
Чула,
not
так?
the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ти ж почула, що я пішов не туди, коли ти сказала, так?
Ну ты
Ну,
пошел
они
вправо.
сказали слева, а ты пошел
But eager
направо.
to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
The first open door on his left.
Ну все, ты опять не
Stanley was
пошел.
so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion. Will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift, 1000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift, 5000.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Поздравляю с одной из концовок.
Да.
All his coworkers
Це я бачу.
had gone. What could it mean?
Якщо
Stanley
це
decided
концовка,
to go
це
to the
окей,
meeting.
я її бачу.
Perhaps he had
Ну,
slipped
это
out
концовка,
the
да.
memo.
Окей, пішли далі. Worth admiring, все таке.
When Stanley came to a set of 2
Yeah.
open doors, he
Пой-
entered the
пішли.
door on his left.
Meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling
Ты зачитал
dazed with
слайды?
disbelief, Stanley decided to go
Yeah.
up to his boss's office,
Почитай.
hoping he might find an answer there.
How to solve a dispute with coworker. Что там написано?
Let it ball up inside you. Okay. Using slides to assure employment that everything is okay. Make sure your slide has a slick blue graphics in the header and throw some bevel on the text. Sorry. Everyone is unique. You most of all.
Мгм.
Так, нормально видно, так? Number of slides on this slide. Charts and slides. Rate at which charts on the same slide depicts the same information. Rate of increase in graphic per slide. Please, no more charts, please, I'm begging you, stop. The boss appreciation minute. On your boss appreciation minute worksheet, circle the top 20 things you love most about your boss. У мене килимок для мишки осипається. Мені це не подобається. Треба новий покупати. What are your dreams for the future? Mitosis, a boat,
Success.
success,
boat.
metamorphosis, spring break, hope,
Mitosis.
hope, less air, comatose. Tips for not getting fired. Tall class, do unbelievably amazing work all the time, every day, with no exception of promotion, with no expectation of promotion. Зрозуміло. Окей. Пішли далі. Що тут? Пішли далі. Назад.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Точно нафіг. Он брум стоїть.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Тут точно щось має бути.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Бачите хоч щось?
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Ще почекаємо?
Да.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Мені цікаво, чому воно отак от спускається тут і тут.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching
Oh.
path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Да.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Sam?
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them.
Я, до речі, в
Alright,
навушниках
when
нічого
you've
це
done
не
that,
почую.
just step out into the hallway.
Жалко.
То що, буде ще щось? Наче ні, я так розумію.
Ну, я не помню, вроде бы что-то еще может быть. А, да. Ну, я думаю, ты догадаешься, что нужно сделать.
Вийти? Чи не виходити?
Выйти.
Так вийти, він сказав вийти. Це не цікаво.
Ну, он ждет, пока за компьютер посадит кого-то нового.
А, точно.
Он смирился с тем, что ты мертв.
Окей.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Ну, пішло.
Серьезно?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
Ладно.
upstairs to his boss's
Ты мог бы
office.
зайти обратно.
А,
Ибо ты совсем обиделся вроде, я не помню
Окей.
точно.
зрозуміло. То що, upstairs?
Да как хочешь, как бы тут
Ага.
все варианты хороши.
Да. Добре.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example,
Ви ж бачите, що я по
why
колу
couldn't
ходжу,
he
так?
see his feet
Да.
when he looked down?
Ну, я не смотрю, но я
Why
знаю
couldn't his
наизусть.
toes
Да.
automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange.
Там наче
This can't
потім
be
якась
real. And at
окрема
last, he came
двері,
to the
якісь
conclusion
окремі
that had
двері
been on the tip of his
відчиняться.
tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could
Почему
just...
оно так?
He would
Так.
prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
У вас тоже проблемы
So
со
he closed
звуком
his
там?
eyes
Да-да-да.
gently, and he
Что такое?
invited himself to wake up.
Звук
He felt
лагает
the
почему-то
cool
на
weight of the
трансляции.
blanket on his skin, the
Но уже
press
вроде
of the
нормально.
mattress on his back,
Мгм.
the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Я не дуже пам'ятаю,
Please.
куди йти.
It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Це типу друга кінцівка?
Ага.
Окей. Мені здається, її я теж бачив. Поїхали.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
То есть,
Perhaps he
серьезно,
had
ты с
simply
каждого
missed the memo.
раза, как рогалик, начинаешь сначала?
Ну,
Ага.
типу, з якогось сейву. Давай я все
When
ж таки
Stanley came to
хочу
a set of two open
з
doors,
брумстіком
he entered
послухати.
the door on his left.
Хоча це довго.
Не, послушай.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Я думав, що вони наново будуть все повністю.
Да-да-да, вот нет.
Ну окей. Тим легше.
Да. Там, если второй раз зайти, там вроде ничего особенного не было, просто
Я так
немножечко еще
розумію,
такое...
оце от, власне, no.
Ну вот что-то такое, но нет, другое все-таки. Этот диалог происходит только когда ты после перезагрузки заходишь еще раз.
А, окей. Ну, добре.
Coming to a
Вниз я вже
staircase,
був.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Мені здається... Ну, добре, коротше. Пішло так.
Вниз, вот только единственное, без вариантов вообще.
Да.
Вот
Executive Bass Room. Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. Окей. Себе я не бачу. Шничок. Нічого взагалі не можу зробити. Окей. А тепер? Я думав, там якась автоматизація запуститься.
Прыгни на его стол.
На стол? Я вже клікав. Пофігу.
Ну,
Так, що це? Це вихід, типу. Я можу визвати ліфт? Треба було вгору тицнути. Я ніколи не був в ліфтах з музикою.
Ой, я была недавно. У мужа на работе.
Мені здається, я тут був.
Ты просто покатался?
Это фейковый лифт, он никуда не ездит.
Был.
Окей. Тут нічого.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from
Давай
him.
код.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Де newly opened passageway?
За каміном.
А, окей. Вибачте. Link Plus. Так. Що в нас тут? Фонарика нема. Добре. Тиць. Все одно вниз. Окей.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity
Я так
to
розумію,
turn
що
around
як
and get
тільки
back
я
on
розвернусь,
track.
там будуть двері. Ні?
At this point, Stanley was making
Попробуй.
a conscious,
Не-не-не, я
concerted
спробував.
effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Бум. Мені здається, що до сюди я теж доходив.
Вполне возможно.
Что это такое?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been
Там
of
десь
no
буде
consequence
набік,
whatsoever.
можна буде
Stanley
звалити,
can't
коротше.
see the
Наскільки
bigger
я
picture.
пам'ятаю.
He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Ні?
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Ага, ну так теж можна. Тут теж мене не пустять. Я мав перевірити.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
От цього я не пам'ятаю.
Это хорошо.
Ні, все. Окей, пішли почитаємо. А це кредити. Зрозумів.
Мгм.
Якщо цікаво. Ви досить, потім почитаєте, якщо захочете на паузу поставити. Усі наші 0 глядачів і ви двоє.
Ага.
Ну, що тут? Installing Chart Pro 2.01. Employee Database.
Это музей игры, короче.
Розумію. Button Sound. Добре. Пішли звідси. А що там?
А я послезавтра в Кёльн поеду.
Прикольно.
Нет.
Freedom Ending.
Мы поедем смотреть на Counter-Strike. А еще мне на работе повысили.
Ну, поздравляю.
О, вітаю.
Спасибо.
Це круто.
Только я этого не хотела.
На все.
А повисили, типу, в тебе тепер більше роботи, а зарплата така сама?
Нет, зарплата тоже выше, понятное дело. Ну, только с сентября. А я хотела искать новую работу и уходить.
А, не почувствовали.
Ну, я отвечаю, мне кажется, они это поняли и такие, типа, ну,
Мгм.
на, типа. Так
Коротше.
что.
Треба звідси валити.
М.
Да, место прикольное, но довольно скучное.
Угу. Так, як звідси звалити?
Там где-то есть выход, я не помню где, где-то, кажется, между первым и вторым этажом.
Зараз знайдемо.
А вы что вы расскажете?
Ми пройшли We Were Here Forever.
Она шикарная.
М.
Разом з попередніми 3 частинами.
Да, они тоже классные.
М.
Тут ми були. Да? Да?
Но
да?
последняя прям вообще.
Як тут не спуститись? Чи я правильно йшов?
Там темная комната будет с рычагом, я не сильно помню.
А,
где
бачив,
она.
все, я бачив її.
А, супер.
Все окей. Не тут. Але я точно бачив її. І не тут.
Так слушайте, а в Украине кинотеатры же работают?
Вроде да.
М.
Oh,
Что
look at these
показывают?
two.
Все,
How
Тор
they
буде
wish to
22-го.
destroy one another. How they
Сходи.
wish to control
Я
one
хочу.
another. How
Мне
they
понравилось.
both wish to be free.
Он такой
Can
тупой-тупой.
you see?
Нормально.
Can you see how much they need one
Останній
another?
цей.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things
Стрэндж
cannot
теж
be
тупий.
seen.
Але мені ок.
Ой, ну, это лучше, чем Спанч.
А?
You can still save them.
Тор лучше,
You can
чем
stop the
Спанч,
program before
100%.
they both
Зараз,
fail.
нехай договорить.
Push escape and press
Oh.
quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Окей. Ну, поїхали.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Когда тебе
Stanley decided
надоест
to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply
стандартные
missed a
пути
memo.
проходить, ты говори, я Могу подсказать пару тех, которые, скорее всего, ты не видел, если ты
When Stanley came to a
сам
set of
проходил.
2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps
Когда у
he
тебя
wanted to
идеи
stop by the
закончатся.
employee lounge
Окей.
first, just to admire it.
Я багато бачив, типу,
Wow.
коли тобі пропонують
Yes.
грати в
This
іншу
room.
гру.
What a but eager to get back to business,
Коротше,
Stanley took the first open door on his left.
окей, в мене ще є справи тут.
Stanley was so bad at following
Другую
directions, it's
игру
incredible he wasn't
это...
5 years
Сейчас,
ago.
да, я хотя бы вспомню. Где это? Когда он включает
Look,
другие
Stanley,
игры,
I
да?
think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong
Секунду.
foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact
Я,
is that
наверное,
the
скоро
story has
спать
been
пойду, а
about
то у
nothing
меня
but
завтра
you
с утра
all this
собеседование.
time.
А я
Is this someone you've been neglecting, Stanley?
Да.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood.
Вот кажется, ты сейчас к этому идешь,
Да.
если правильно помню.
Це я точно робив.
I
Мгм.
still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing.
Ладно,
Because
я
this
пошел
is what you
спать.
wanted to see.
Ти спати?
Може?
Here, Stanley, help elucidate these strange and unknowable
Давай,
desires
добраніч.
of yours. What
Спокійно.
made this game
Ага.
better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me, you've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Це той момент, коли я обирав замість лівої і правої?
Подожди, а что?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me
Da,
about
da,
your
da, всё.
experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Окей.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly
Будешь
confronting
играть
the
4 часа?
demands of family life.
Що
I
робити?
think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to
Я
keep
думаю, ты
notes
понимаешь,
of
да,
your
что
experience.
ты можешь играть 4 часа.
You heartless bastard.
Понятно.
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Оце я пам'ятаю.
Мгм.
Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Портал? Наскільки я пам'ятаю.
А,
Ні, я...
Первый не портал.
А, так.
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game
Це
is
не
about,
пам'ятаю.
Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that
А,
works.
кстати, да.
What a fascinating
Они
venture
в
into
этой
the
версии
experience of
другие
total
игры.
mental depravity. So
Справедливо.
far, I love everything
Ну,
about
это ты
this
знаешь,
game,
да?
Stanley. And it seems there's even more.
А,
Come, let's venture out
Dear
and
Esther?
see what else is out there.
Не, это прекрасная игра Firewatch.
А, ні, я взагалі не знаю, що це.
Она очень хорошая. Ну, как она такая. У нее свой жанр. Очень интересный, советую как-нибудь попробовать.
Окей. Ні, не можу штовхнути. Ну, добре, ходімо вниз.
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Да,
Wonderful.
це знаю.
See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a
Rocket League.
nice big box for you to
Ah,
run
точно.
around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
А мені дадуть покататись?
Okay,
Just
so what
просто.
exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh,
Он
what
написано
fun.
Rocket League.
We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Він важкий для мене буде, скоріш за все. А, ні. А я синій чи помаранчевий?
Не
Are
знаю.
you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Непогано. Я всіх маю загнати.
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Ні, сюди не можна.
Не помню, что тут дальше, если честно.
Нічого, зараз подивимось.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Як варіант.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
А,
How will you
точно.
write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
По ідеї дуже смахує на портал. Де ми провалилися вниз і опинилися десь там в минулому.
Мгм.
Сорі за спойлери всі на наші 0 глядачів.
Мгм.
Нічого, нічого. Нічого. Окей, пішли назад. Що це було?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Окей. Пішли далі. У мене ще є.
All
Куди
of his
йти?
co-workers were gone.
Окей.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story...
Ай.
But in his eagerness
Sorry.
to prove that he is in
Мимо.
control of the story and no one gets to tell him what... All of his co-workers
Треба
were
було
gone.
трохи почекати.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Я хочу піти за, ну, неправильним шляхом, але послухатись, ну, зайти в правильну двері.
То есть остаться на лифте, короче. Или в красную
Ні,
дверь.
спригнути, але в червону двері.
Perhaps he wanted to stop
Всё
by the
понял.
employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Залишитись на ліфті. Давай так, що
Stanley was
коротше.
so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Я могу тебе сказать, что вправо, и ты скажешь, помнишь ты это или
Stanley, I
нет.
think perhaps
Давай
Точнее,
я
в двери.
все-таки піду в червону двері.
I'm not
Ну,
sure,
давай, да.
Stanley, really, I'm not.
Там
I
довольно
realize
длинный
that
вариант.
investing your
С
trust in
красивой
someone else
комнатой.
can be difficult,
И с
but the fact
лестницей.
is that the
Чёр-
story has
якщо
been about
лишитись?
nothing but you
Нет, если
all
красная
this
дверь.
time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Красиво.
Не был ты тут?
Був.
Мгм.
Якраз Масаку відправлю.
Что?
Меседж якраз відправлю в чатик.
Окей, окей.
Ну що, намилувались? Мені здається, що тут більше нічого не буде.
Да, не будет.
Да, воно просто буде переливатися різним. Пішли назад.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Я не хочу помирати.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Ні, сюди не зайду.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
І чо? Все?
Ну, вариантов у тебя сильно нет.
Ну, я думав, що може там, якщо почекати.
No! Oh, thank God. You lived.
Окей, пішли назад.
You had me worried there for a moment. No, 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 what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me.
воно
I
наново
can't go
буде
back
те
to
ж
what I
саме.
was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Скільки разів треба покінчити з життям?
Stanley,
Вроде
let's
3.
go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Ти десь.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I
Воно,
just
до речі,
wanted
все
us to get
повільніше і
along,
повільніше
but
збирається.
I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over?
Да.
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Це я був.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself.
Інший наратив.
This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted. When Stanley came to a set of two open
може і ні.
doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Ну,
and
кстати,
Stanley
там
knew
есть
it
разные
perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
начальные точно.
А, окей.
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. Giddy in a way he had
Багато
never known,
чого
but
міняється.
eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Рано.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think
Я
perhaps
все
we've
там
gotten
зробив
off
вже.
on the wrong foot here.
В дверях двух?
Really, I'm not.
Справа, там де
I
червоно.
realize that investing in your
Да,
trust
да, да.
in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been
По крайней
about
мере, я не
nothing
помню
but
ничего
you
больше с
all
этими
this
дверьми.
time.
Окей.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Вищі. Ja.
That's her, Stanley.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Я так розумію, що можна не чекати.
Stanley is quite a boring
Да.
fellow. He has a job that demands
Ну, мені
nothing
здається,
of
що це я
him,
теж бачив.
and every button that he pushes is a
Вполне
reminder
вероятно.
of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Зараз.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with
Закінчиться
monitors
моїм
and
офісом,
mind
точно.
controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
За что ничего не будет, пока ты не нажмешь.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Поїхали.
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I
Еще есть идеи?
sure that the orders stopped coming in?
Зараз
How is
подумаю,
that
що
possible?
я сам
They
ще
never
не
stopped. Surely
зробив.
I was mistaken. Oh, new content? What does that mean? New content?
А, ты уже зашел туда? А, еще нет.
Я зайшов, а потім вийшов.
When Stanley
Ага,
came to a
окей.
set of 2 open doors,
Давай
he
наліво.
entered the door on his left.
Нащо я це зробив? Окей, пофігу.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a
У мене
wave
є
of
ще одна
disbelief,
паска.
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office,
Да-да.
hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Там я все пройшов вже. Секунду. Ні. Пам'ятаєш код?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned
Лучше
to
его не
discover
набирать
not an
так быстро.
indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley
Логично.
wondered aloud to
Ну ты
note.
знаешь, что будет?
He began wildly
Не
tearing through
пам'ятаю.
papers on the boss's desk,
Он
pulling
обидится и
books off the
заставит тебя
shelf,
подождать и
looking
послушать
behind
расслабляющую
paintings,
музыку.
desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ну, правда.
Угу.
2845.
Ні? А могли б щось
But it turns
зробити.
out that the panel's emergency
Что?
override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Ні, як бачиш, тут нема музики.
Не, это если ты слишком быстро наберешь.
Ну, я не набрав правильний код.
Не-не, я же говорю, если ты зайдешь и сразу наберешь до того, как он сказал,
А.
тогда он обидится и скажет, Стэнли так торопился, что ему нужно было расслабиться.
Окей. Але зараз я не набрав правильно.
Мгм.
Я не пам'ятаю, що я тут не робив вже.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
Ага.
door that read Mind
Там є
Control
щось
Facility.
в ескейпі?
В смысле?
Мені здається, що ми там все ще зробили.
Не, в эскейпе ничего больше, да.
Пішли далі.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ні, вимкнути не можу. Пішли далі.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Він 427?
Мгм.
Окей, а он я. Окей. Employee Observation Protocol. Сфокусуватись не можу? Ні, не можу. Please note that employee 432 is a test case where, while the need for protocol 2A may seem unlikely, procedure 2A to C need to apply. In the event of 432 attempting to leave the office, contact supervisor and then contact 432 price pool. If a monitoring screen fails to initialize, contact maintenance and temporarily switch control over to test screen. In the case of a class 4 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. In case of a class 3 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. Prime your consoles for info dump. Окей.
Кстати, тут есть, кажется, какой-то секретик, который не концовка. Ты сейчас нажал только одну кнопку, да? Которая
Да.
зажигает мониторы. Вот Тебе нужно будет, я правда не помню, как это конкретно сделать, тебе нужно будет нажать следующую кнопку, а потом вернуться и нажать предыдущую, как-то так. То есть, если у тебя появится возможность вернуться назад после нажатия одной из кнопок и нажать предыдущую, попробуй это сделать.
Тут не.
This mind control facility, it was too
Кажется, в
horrible to
какой-то
believe
момент
that couldn't be
там
true.
откроются двери
Had
назад.
Stanley really been
Попередній,
under
скоріш за
someone's
все.
control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Возможно, это после вызова лифта.
No. He
Тут назад не
refused to
можна було.
believe it.
Скоріш за
He
все,
couldn't
перша. Ну,
accept
типу,
it.
друга.
His own life
А,
in
да-да-да,
someone
видимо,
else's
вторая.
control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Тут я можу повернутися? Не можу. Окей.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Логічно ж, так?
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I
Де четверта?
barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
Шостої нема?
I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Так, що я ще не робив? Не вимикав
Stanley
ту
decided
штуку?
to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and
Андрей, ты ещё
constantly
тут?
needed support and guidance from others.
Черт, я
So the
забыл, что
thought
я
of
когда
total
чихал, выключил
solitude was
микрофон.
terrifying to him.
Так,
Да,
давай
Stanley
направо.
Came to a set of two open doors. This was
Я
not
думаю,
Там-
ты уже
related to the meeting
выключал
Там
и
є
нажал.
двері наліво.
Well, perhaps he wanted to stop by the
А,
employee lounge
хорошо.
first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ну,
And
кстати,
so
там
he
хорошая
detoured through
концовка,
the
да.
maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ну, два варіанти. Окей, пішли.
Кстати, если ты пойдешь вперед, а не налево,
But Stanley didn't
То-
want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
ты бы вернулся, если бы пошел
Oh,
прямо,
no.
ты бы просто
No, it's
вернулся
to the
в
right, my mistake.
митинг-рум.
А, окей.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Тут я теж був.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way. No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to,
А, это классная
Who am
концовка.
I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Угу. Тут я був.
All
Помню.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ну, я
Stanley
спробую все ж
decided to
таки
go to
прямо
the
піти.
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait.
Ага.
What?
Все, згадав. Тут
No,
же
I
далі
Мгм.
воно буде.
restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Or did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move
Если
the
тебе не
story
интересно
somewhere, or...
продолжать,
Hold on.
то, наверное, ты
Why am
можешь
I
сам
asking
рестартнуть,
you?
и
I'm the
тогда...
one who wrote the
Ні-ні-ні,
story.
я хочу
It was
дійти.
right here just a
Принаймні,
minute
я
ago.
лишу на Ютубі.
I know for sure that it's
Ah,
here
okay, okay.
somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come, Stanley, let's find the
Я
story.
прям не пам'ятаю, що тут за варіанти. Мені здається, що вони всі однакові. Сюди взагалі не можу піти. То що, куди йти? Вони
А, в
відрізняються?
Да нет, вроде кажется, ты уже по цепочке.
Окей.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Поїхали.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ця штука все ще захищена. А, тут взагалі нема точно.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Ні.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Ні-ні-ні-ні-ні.
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Окей.
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Я не дуже пам'ятаю, що таке farm.
Это цветок.
Було б логічно. Ну, whatever.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting.
No,
Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine. Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's
Тут
this?
я був.
The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you do... Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Коротше, це був Confusion Ending і все, це був він.
Да, да.
Окей.
And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Давай спробуємо з кнопкою.
Какой кнопкой?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television
Тут зачинено.
screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Но я опять же не до конца помню. Там
Find out.
что-то надо понажимать, и потом можно будет вернуться, нажать назад и нажать еще раз.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. the lives of so many individuals
То ли, короче, в какой-то момент откроется дверь назад.
reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Я не помню, нужно ли для этого что-то сделать.
Може ще раз натиснути. Не натискається. І не те, щоб в мене тут було що натискати ще. Далі ми вже пробували.
То есть первые две кнопки не работают.
Да, так не спрацювало.
Ну, может быть, это убрали здесь, не знаю.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Ну тут я назад не можу. Ну, коротше.
Ну ладно.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Давай спробуємо вимкнути.
But here was the proof.
Okay.
The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Я до четвертої не можу дістатись. До того, як натиснув. Тут зачинено. Ну пофігу.
Ну так, я никогда не встречал ничего, что говорило бы о том, что эти кнопки что-то значат. Мне кажется, тут две концовки и все, и точка.
Окей.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Це Freedom Ending.
Ага.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Beat the game. Achievement unlocked.
Мгм.
Так, в мене там був new content.
All of his
Хочешь сразу
coworkers
туда?
were gone. What
А
could it
є
mean?
інші варіанти?
Stanley decided to go
Ну,
to the
есть еще
meeting
много
room.
чего ты
Perhaps he had simply
не
missed a memo.
смотрел.
Ну давай.
Концовок. Смотри, если ты уже делал это, то есть вспоминаешь, то говори, и тогда
Все одно лишимо на ютубі.
окей. Вернись в комнату и закрой дверь.
Так можна?
Да.
Цікаво. А в яку?
Ну, в свою.
Там зачинено.
А где ты уже? Сейчас, подожди. Значит, это
Давай
надо...
старт.
Хорошо, подожди. Ладно.
Секунду.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Окей. Там є ачівка, коли в гру треба грати увесь вівторок.
Ого.
Угу. Ну що,
All of his
давай далі.
coworkers were gone.
Вперед
What could it
и
mean?
налево
Stanley
там
decided to go to the
есть
meeting
стол,
room.
на который
Perhaps he
можно
had simply missed a
забраться.
memo.
Осторожно, потихоньку, осторожненько забраться. Возле окна стол.
Біля вікна.
Есть окно?
Отут, мабуть, є.
Да, вот тут. Вот этот...
No matter how
то-
hard Stanley
Не,
looked,
подожди, не
he
этот.
couldn't find a trace of his coworkers.
Вот тот, который 434. Вот на этот. Да, попробуй как-нибудь на него забраться.
Ага, секунду. Да.
Если они это не убрали. Ага, и в окно.
А як?
Пролезь в окно.
Секунду. Можливо, прибрали.
Что никак?
А, ні, проліз.
At
Отлично.
first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in?
Ага.
Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Як тут вибрати?
Как хочешь.
Ні, я маю на увазі, що тут зробити, щоб обрати. А, треба наклацнути.
Да.
Ah, then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option?
Ага.
Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Да, но тут рестартить ты должен сам.
Справедливо. Давай спробуємо.
Другой
Я
вариант.
думаю, що там те ж саме.
All of his
Попробуй.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. You too will become quite unbearable.
О.
Угу.
Думаю, музика далі буде нескінченна. Ні?
Кажется, нет. Кажется, нет.
Ну, давай
не
почекаємо. Поки в мене гра йде в 354 FPS.
Понимаю.
При моніторі в 144.
Да, похоже, что теперь она вечная. Мне кажется, раньше она заканчивалась. Все?
Ні, ну, можемо ще почекати.
А, не, мне кажется, все.
Мені теж так здається.
Так. Есть еще один вариант, который ты, наверное...
And if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Еще один вариант, который ты, наверное, не пробовал, это открыть консоль. На ее. Получилось?
Ні.
Так, а в плавных настройках, мне кажется, ты сможешь там где-то ее включить. Нужно как-то открыть консоль. Не, нету.
Не бачу поки що.
Я забыл, как там открывается консоль. А, черт. Окей.
Стартнуть?
Тебе нужно вообще выключить игру и зайти в библиотеку Steam. Ну, в принципе,
Давай поки що решту, а потім подивимось.
хорошо. Тогда тебе нужно зайти в кабинет директора.
Угу.
И
When Stanley came to a set of two open
когда
doors, he entered the door on
заходишь
his
в ту
left.
комнату с двумя дверьми, где комната директора, тебе нужно успеть выйти
Yet there was
обратно,
not a single
прежде
person
чем двери
here either.
закроются. То
Feeling
есть
a
так, чтобы двери
wave of
закрылись, но при
disbelief,
этом ты оказался
Stanley
вне
decided
комнаты
to go up
директора.
to his boss's office. Coming to a
Зараз,
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Так, далі?
В офис босса, да, наверх по лестнице.
А, воно настільки відстає на Діскорді?
Нет, я просто катаюсь в ВТС, я ее наизусть знаю.
Окей.
Ты где? Подожди, ты где?
Перед дверями в кабінет боса.
Именно двойными дверями.
Да.
Тебе нужно зайти и выйти быстренько туда-обратно, так, чтобы они закрылись, двойные двери, а ты остался вне кабинета.
Okay, I think we all
Блин,
know the drill
настав.
by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Тут трохи швидше, мабуть. Хоча, ну, давай я перестартну, подивимось.
Ну да, твоя задача просто делать шажок вперед и тут же идти назад.
Да,
Вперед, тут
там
же.
просто
He was
воно
sure
не
of it.
так
If he checked
одразу
over his
там
shoulder
стоїть
now,
тригер.
he would surely catch
Да,
them.
да,
It
не
was only a
сразу.
matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Класно. Хочеш прикол?
Там.
Я стою перед дверми в офіс боса.
Так.
І всередині тільки що при мені все відчинилося, типу, по Secret Passageway, бла-бла-бла і все таке.
Ого.
Ну, типу, я минулого разу вже підійшов, він такий, ну бла-бла-бла, ми всі знаємо, що тут там, кіпад,
Мгм,
бла-бла-бла,
я-
Secret Passageway.
Это странно.
Давай спробуємо все ж таки.
Here's the door.
Блін.
Just go.
А власне
Получилось?
майже встиг. Майже. Я думав, що не вийшло, але вийшло. Але я потім
Stanley
чомусь
decided to go to the meeting
спробував
room
ще
to
раз.
check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Початкових фраз, до речі,
Yet there was not
багато.
a single person here either.
Мгм.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Що це було?
Here's the door.
Вау. Окей. Далі що?
Иди обратно к своему офису, к своей комнате 427,
Да-да.
и там будет открытая дверь.
Ну тут всі відчинились, так.
Да, нет, там будет открытая дверь возле твоей комнаты,
А, окей.
та, которая обычно закрыта.
Там, до речі, замість тих подвійних дверей тепер чорний воїд.
Да.
А я тут де можу зайти?
В черный воид?
Да.
Кажется, нет.
А отут біля мене теж чорний воїд.
Ясно, подожди, я сейчас гляну. Ау.
You are now leaving.
Окей. Значит, они сделали так, что ты можешь зайти в любой из них.
Можливо.
Раньше нужно было...
Ні,
Раньше
я
было идти.
прийшов назад. Я не спробував
Кстати,
зайти в той Void.
окей. Тогда хорошо. Кстати, You Are Now Living — это отсылка, кажется, на игру The Beginner's Guide, если ты ее
Ні, не
знаешь.
знаю таку.
Это от создателей этой игры, тоже очень классная, советую.
Скільки тут
Она,
поверхів?
конечно, совсем другая, но она прям очень-очень глубокая.
Скільки тут поверхів?
Я не помню. 4.
Окей.
Немного. Тебе не заставят все 700 сколько-то.
Я вгору йду. Тут можна і не 700.
Ну, там вроде как...
Ну я на
Я не помню, да.
758-му вже.
Ага, ну
759.
тебе чуть-чуть осталось, да. Там нет никакой надписи типа Escape Pod на таком-то этаже?
Не бачив. Можливо, внизу і була. Типу на самому першому.
Может быть.
О, Escape Pod Launch Bay.
Ага.
Escape. А тут ліфт чомусь збоку. А, ні, він тут і був. Нормально. Окей. І тут довгий коридор. І все погасло. І знову спочатку. Все?
Да, ну типа фишка в том, что Escape Pod, ну,
All
короче,
his
ты до него
clues
так и не
were
добрался.
gone.
Зрозуміло.
Так,
could it
смотри,
mean?
есть еще одна
Stanley
штука,
decided to go to
которую
the meeting room. Perhaps he had
считают
simply missed a memo.
концовкой официально, но она не такая уж и большая.
Де я спробую все ж таки зайти в чорний Void біля дверей.
When Stanley came to a
Попробуй.
set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Та ну бля.
Here's the door.
Ні, тут просто чорне.
Ну ладно. Ну, то, которая 4 часа игра с ребенком, я не думаю, что тебе понравится.
Думаю, що так. Типу мені треба тицяти на кнопку, поки... І так всі 4 години?
Да. Ну, там потом через 2 часа появится еще одна мини-игра, то есть там будут 2 одновременно мини-игры. Это уже будет сложнее, еще 2 часа
Класно.
тех мини-игр.
Ну да, така.
Окей.
Зараз.
То, что было с... Не, это так. То, что было с консолью в этой версии не работает, только в оригинале.
Окей. У мене оригінал теж є.
Если коротко, что там ты включаешь консоль, если ты наберешь SVCheats, то тебя переместят в серьезную комнату и будут с тобой общаться по поводу того, что нехорошо читерить. И он там назначит тебе наказание, что типа 10 тысяч лет в этой комнате.
Тут ніде не написано. А, Escape Pod Bay на 760-му. Є таке.
Мгм.
Давай далі.
Дальше, в смысле...
Да, наступне.
Так, смотри, дай секунду, дай подумать. Это есть, это потом... Ну как, давай я расскажу просто, потому что нам лень будет это искать. Если офис станет синим, то есть вот при выходе у тебя будут синие стены и так далее, тогда скажи. Тогда там нужно будет зайти в одну комнату, и там будет доска с надписью «Концовка».
А куди йти взагалі? Щоб
В смысле,
синій
сейчас?
Perhaps
А, чтобы синий, это рандомно. Оно вот просто при перезапусках рандомно появляется синий офис.
Давай поперезапускаємо.
Ну, попробуй.
Я там прям помічу, що він синій?
Да, он будет прям другой. Маленькая синяя, ну не маленькая, такая квадратненькая синяя комната с синими стенами.
Поки що воно просто запускається як є.
Но опять же, это довольно редкая штука вроде. Ну как, довольно. Не сильно, но...
Добре, які ще варіанти є?
Секунду. Ты можешь попробовать зайти на тот лифт, который у тебя, который тебя везет, и тут же выйти с него.
Справедливо. Цього я чомусь не спробував.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
О, вже в мітінг-рум, вже кімната персоналу, it was okay.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've got his eagerness to prove that...
Дуже погано.
Бывает.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Office brightly lit? В чому?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Знову it was okay.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Sorry to break it to you, Stanley, but that lift isn't coming back. You'd best either get comfortable right here on this platform, or test your luck by jumping to the floor below. You know what? Looking at it now, it's not that far to the bottom floor. I bet you can make it.
О, мені здається, що це я чув.
Come
Те,
on.
що...
I'm sure you'll survive
Да.
the
Треба
jump. Don't tell me
зістрибнути.
you're
Да.
scared. That's not the Stanley I know. Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
Я так розумію, що можна просто спригнути і все.
Да, это типа трусливая концовка. Одна из двух, которые...
Але стояти далі я не можу.
Ну, ты можешь стоять дальше, это вроде как ни к чему не приведет.
Окей.
Whoops. Looks like I was wrong. How clumsy of me.
Да.
Так, смотри. Теперь перезапусти игру 2 раза.
Окей.
Теперь тебе нужно нажать на компьютер на столе 419.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Один раз.
Да, на 419. Теперь
Да.
перезапускай игру. Теперь 423.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Є.
Теперь перезапускай и компьютер на столе секретаря директора перед офисом.
Окей.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Все, нажал на секретаря.
Зараз на тест.
Следующий 434.
А, їх 5. 434.
Ага.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
И перезапускай и на столе Стэнли.
Є таке. Heaven, йоху.
Угу.
А, це все кнопочки.
Да.
Я можу всі вирубити?
Нет, это вроде как ты можешь просто нажимать кнопки.
Було б логічно всіх вирубати. А, воно потім загоряється назад. Що, вирубати?
Да, можешь перезапускать, это райская концовка.
Окей. Далі.
И последняя, которую я помню вообще, это тебе нужно пойти к телефону.
Якому?
Там, где на лифте проехать дальше.
Окей. Там дружина?
Да.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Знову it was okay. Щось зламалось.
But eager to get back to business,
Он
Stanley
устал.
took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible.
Я так розумію, it was okay дописали потім, бо голос трохи відрізняється.
Возможно.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
Окей, телефон, скоріш за все, далі.
Ну, телефон в той комнате, да.
She's been waiting.
Заходи в комнату с телефоном
That's her, Stanley.
и вытаскивай его
You need to be
из
the one to
розетки.
do this. Oh, no, 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 you
Логично.
can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person, but if used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Так, ідемо далі.
Ага.
Ні. Не спрацює.
Что именно?
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Ага, тут вже все закрили.
Угу.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Все, я маю йти.
Где ты?
Ну, я спробував піти знову в праві двері, але мене
Там
послали.
что-то не то.
Ну да.
Возвращайся.
Ну, я повернувся, але тепер в мене лише варіант пойти в ліві двері.
А ты не можешь пойти в правую снова?
Я йшов, там нічого, там все так само.
Попробуй тогда в левую.
А, секунду, дай я спробую ще цю відчинити. Ні, нічого. Тільки ліво.
Тогда влево.
Oh, it's
Ah, no.
ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special
навіть на
about
стол
seeing
не
the
можу
game undone,
забратись.
left here like so much garbage?
Mhm.
It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Да. Оу. Якісь препарати.
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the
Що?
ground.
Куди мені?
What, did you think that would be funny?
А, тут
You just
нікуди.
had to see?
Угу.
Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Знову піти направо? Чи воно просто перезапустилось?
Ну попробуй
No!
направо.
Why did you do that? Quickly,
Це
hurry
вже
back.
було. А. Вирубалось.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first.
Скільки разів я
I'm
так
quite sure
можу
you'll be up
вправо?
to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be
Честно
fine.
говоря, не помню.
Alright.
Буквально пару вроде бы.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Надоест
he
пойти
entered the
влево.
door on his
Логично.
left. No! Why did you
А,
do that?
це те ж саме,
Quickly,
типу,
hurry back.
воно далі не дуже розвивається.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine.
Я просто не
Alright.
очень помню. Ну, я думаю, ты
When
можешь влево
Stanley
вроде.
came to a set of 2 open doors,
Вправі
he
нічого
entered
не
the door
міняється
on
вже.
his left.
Окей.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Брум-клозет закритий. Причому не заколочений, а саме закритий.
Да-да-да-да.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
А,
upstairs
тут
to
вниз
his
не
boss's
можна
office.
вже.
Да-да-да-да-да, точно, точно. Вспомнил.
І туалета вже нема. Ага, boss's office вже
Stepping
інший.
inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Як сказати код?
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
К сожалению, микрофон эта игра не подхватывает.
А,
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get
Night
on with the
Shark
story. This is a
125.
crucial step.
115. Но опять
115.
же, к сожалению, говорю, эта игра не подхватывает микрофон.
чому?
Okay,
Ну, не знаю,
fine,
вот
you're not gonna do it, but you know
таков
what?
сюжет.
It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only
Короче
for you
говоря,
to
ты ничего не
suddenly
можешь
decide you
сделать.
have better things to
Нічого,
do.
нічого.
I asked you for
Він
this
щось
one
зробить.
single thing,
Да, я
your
знаю.
respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously.
Я б на їх місці
If you
таки
didn't want to
розпізнав.
see what I had to show you, then why did you come here?
Было
You
бы
had a
круто, да.
choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Оу.
Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right?
Три.
Stanley, this is important.
Поздравляю. Это концовка Стэнли Парабла.
Nice.
It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Угу.
Ну вот теперь, мне кажется, все.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Дивишся? Чи ти дивився на Ютубі?
Дважды смотрел.
Окей.
Я по звуку уже плюс-минус знаю, но я буду посматривать уже побольше, чем в обычной игре. Потому что обычно я и сам вроде дважды проходил и смотрел раза три.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Мені здається, що якщо б я вначалі сказав, що я грався вже, воно б сразу відчинилось.
Через одну концовку, да.
Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
О, я пригати можу. Стрибати.
Не зря же за игру платил.
О, да. Все?
Да.
Логічно.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Точно в портал переіграли.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not
Ну,
positive.
про
It's just
ліфти.
elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Все.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Рестартати? Угу. А, він сам. Окей. Щось не так. Тут на картинці мій офіс. О.
Come over here.
Хтось в халву переглядав.
I want to show you something. Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Якщо я піду далі, в мене буде звичайна гра.
Знаю, никто, кого я смотрел, так не делал.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley
Піду
knew
сам
it
вб'юсь.
perfectly well.
Цікаво.
Perhaps he wanted to stop
Я
by
не
the
хочу
employee lounge
перезапускати.
first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Yay!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Ну, поїхали.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Ah, boom.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Тут знов як музей і все.
Ну ты посмотри, там довольно крутое место. То есть это, да, это как музей, но...
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Вона на Source була, тепер її переписали на Unreal. Ой, на Unreal, на Unity.
Возможно.
Тут просто коробка стоїть Source SDK.
А,
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Щось пішло не так.
А, каким образом ты
Я ж
вышел за
кажу,
рамки?
щось пішло не так.
Да, что-то явно пошло не так.
Воно просто кімнату не прогрузило.
Ага. Первый раз такое вижу. Баг?
А де кнопочка тут стояла?
Я не думаю, что ты ее найдешь.
Окей. Ну давай.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something. Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it The memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was? And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Хочу, до речі, дещо спробувати.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny.
Воно мене посунуло просто.
I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Я думав, що воно на мене впаде.
Понял. Сейчас сломаешь еще раз.
Подивимось. Ну воно просто мене посунуло і я пішов далі. Типу все одно впало переді мною.
Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as... What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt.
До речі, в налаштуваннях вирубається skip button.
Negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Що, спробуємо ще раз.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to
Там же еще есть «е».
It went on for nearly
Не знаю.
10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is
бред.
why I say,
Ага.
the story and the choices,
А-а.
or what have you,
Вон
and
оно,
therefore,
по колу.
by becoming it is, so on and so forth.
Окей.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made in fact make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Як думаєш, він перестане?
Manifesto. Treatise,
Сомневаюсь.
Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Окей.
Treatise.
Повіримо, що ні.
Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, Surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment.
Я чесно чекаю, поки воно зациклиться.
You may change, and you may become more, so much
Я
more
думаю,
than you
зациклится.
were before.
А?
If there is any message to
Я
be
думаю,
taken from the
зациклится.
Stanley
Да,
Parable
да, тут
Ultra
кожен
Deluxe,
раз воно
it is
зациклювалось.
this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again. It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more time. From the ash...
Да.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait. How do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave?
Прям Гарри
Please,
Поттер якийсь.
I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
Він повернеться?
Не знаю. Все, кого я смотрел, нажимали эту кнопку почти сразу.
Ні. Я б на їх місці все ж таки зробив якийсь пасажик. Ну, типу, блін. Здулись, коротше.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury.
Як думаєш, ці рев'юшки, вони фейкові? Чи вони знайшли реальні? І народ
Я
зараз
думаю,
такий сидить,
я
о,
думаю,
прикольно,
реальні.
це мій рев'ю.
Я думаю, реальні.
For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button.
Ну, типу, вони є на стімі, скоріш за все, але я маю на увазі, чи це були підставні.
That I had the power to prevent it all from happening, if only I'd held my tongue. It's all out of my control now. Just you. Just your decision as to exactly when you're going to make me suffer, to leave me all alone. Surely you will. I don't doubt it. Surely you'll press that button again, leaving me here. And surely you'll put your own desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know you too well. You'll be leaving me oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you? You can see what this means to me. I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart to think of it, to think of returning to such coldness. Come, let us sit in silence together here for just a moment. Let us anticipate it. Let us welcome it. Let us not run from it.
Окей.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from the question of free will that you and I have squabbled over for so long. There could be no one ending, no singular outcome of events, not if all events existed in the same moment, and I felt freed. I felt unburdened by the need to manifest a particular outcome into being. I saw that I could allow myself to exist along all timelines, and that each of them was simply a strand in the web of my being. It was incredible. The spaciousness, the equanimity of the moment, both singular and infinite. For the longest time, this was my experience. And then this moment passed, and the most unyielding fear I have ever known crept into my mind. And it is this sensation that I have been experiencing now for longer than I could have ever expected was possible. I have been waiting for you. Not that you might save me or do something to fix it, but merely to state for you the plain fact of this manner of existence. I wish you to feel afraid as I do, that perhaps one day this state of mind will consume you as well. Perhaps you will somehow, in some way, have to live as I do now, and I wish for you to know how excruciating it is, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the smallest moment of peace in the darkness.
Похоже.
Не дочекався мене, нерейтер.
Ага.
Що пишіть? Ага, бачу.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel... The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Може потім розтикається.
Is never the end.
А что?
Ні, нічого. Я кажу, може потім розтикається.
А.
В кімнаті потроху проходить хана.
Мгм.
Ні, вилізти по цьому не зможу, да? Шкода. Давай ще почекаємо. О, зеленуха. Красиво. Але вилізти все ще не можу. Куда зеленуха пропала?
Черт его знает за столько времени.
Там такі дивні звуки. О, тепер і кнопка провалилась.
Мгм.
Ну, пішли. Пляжик. Пустеля. Де улюблені стіни наратора?
А все.
М?
А все.
Сильно далеко не підеш.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. you notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Чого не туди? Ну добре.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Taste the sequel.
Да, вот там прям
Calling it the
очень
Stanley
клево.
Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Logo ideas.
Мгм.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I
Scrum,
figure that if I
design
can
pitch,
loosely
break,
organize
pitch
a handful
design.
of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
І куди тут?
Так, а где ты?
Біля автобусу. А, бачу.
А, дальше,
О,
дальше,
черга,
дальше.
черга.
Мгм.
Бачу. Чогось не помітив одразу. Я чогось на автобус сподівався сісти.
Here
Да,
we
было бы
are.
весело.
Go on, try out some of the new features.
The button that says
For
the
the
name
Stanley
of the
Parable
player that
2,
is playing the
I
game.
asked myself,
Мгм.
what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
Добре.
Продолжай смотреть дальше. Ну, штучки.
Ну, не тут.
Ну да, уже кнопку уже все.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Я думаю, що нам не сюди.
Ну ты иди туда, куда показывают большие красивые стрелочки, типа.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
От. Якщо туди зайти, більше нічого ж не буде? Да, мене навіть не пускають.
Вроде бы нет.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Free achievement, it just works.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Скільки тут разів треба клацати?
Не знаю, я не встречал ничего про это.
Ну, ачівка така є.
Скажем так, я точно знаю, как получить одну из ачивок с помощью этой машины. И это не клацание. Ти думаєш, там все-таки є ачівка за клацання?
Ну тут дві лампочки, вони моргають. І я не дуже розумію, що я з ними можу зробити, але я точно з ними щось можу зробити. Чи якось відреагувати на їх моргання.
Ну, не знаю.
Добре, а що ти знаєш?
Ну, это не скоро. Ты поймешь, когда можно будет снова подойти к этой штуке.
Окей.
То есть пока она просто не работает.
Добре.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Окей.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Я думаю, що більше нічого не буде.
Да, я думаю, можешь
Great.
телепортироваться.
Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Той.
Що ще назад стрибнути?
Ага,
Логічно.
попробуй.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Ні, нічого.
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I
Приготи
really do
ще
have
раз.
so much more to show
Да.
you and to talk about.
Она ж стала
But I've had
короче.
enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is.
Oh.
The shame of my lie has come to... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was still nothing. Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Тут перезапускати треба?
Что?
Тут перезапускати треба?
Неа.
А. О.
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
А вот теперь я не помню, оно само перезапустится. Или тебе не вроде должно само... Да, само.
Мгм. Мгм.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Ах, даже не помню, что там еще было. Collectibles ты смотрел, ачивку тоже. Дыру тоже. Там еще было. А, точно.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Цікаво, а якщо б я натиснув на той?
Было бы другой.
Логічно. Reassurance bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Ну що тут можна зробити з тим бакетом?
Мне кажется, ты все посмотрел на выставке.
Можливо.
Посмотри, если найдешь что-то новое, может, я что-то забыл.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Там епілог ще є.
Угу.
А, власне, він про епілог вже сказав все, що думав.
Угу. Так, а тут что?
Setting World Champion.
Ага. Хочешь зайти сюда?
Ну, теоретично.
Могу рассказать как.
Ну, давай.
Открой настройки, тебе нужно в настройках будет потрогать каждый слайдер, каждую вещь, вообще все.
А, Settings.
А, ты прям все потрогал?
Не певен.
Это что, только в General?
А, тобто взагалі у всіх.
Да.
This
И... Если не сработает, то я кое-что забыл. Тогда это будет не сильно долго. Ну, бендинги менять не нужно. Так, не сработало, да? Хорошо, тогда я все-таки забыл. Нужно все слайдеры поставить на все возможные позиции. Ну, то есть просто покрути все слайдеры от начала до конца. Вот так, да?
А треба відпускати.
Нет, вроде бы нет. Ну, остальное, да, вот это тоже стоит.
This is the
От тепер відкрилось.
Да?
У мене ачівку дало, принаймні.
Все, супер. О,
Aha! I can see you've gotten the Settings World Champion Achievement. Well done. You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So, just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called Bumpscosity.
Ой.
Ой.
Це я деревна.
да ладно. Наверное, ты можешь зайти еще раз в ту комнату.
Да.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Я сподіваюсь, там вже буде new-new.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Там будет
Perhaps
что?
he'd simply missed a memo.
New контент. Вот такой.
Ну да, это да.
You notice my
Главное, чтобы
sign.
тебя не
Yes, I have
заставили
something
ходить
very
еще раз
exciting to show you.
по всей выставке, но я не думаю. Хотя... Вроде и не обязательно по всей выставке прям ходить. Там только фигурку собрать надо.
You see,
Если она не
Stanley,
собрана
I've been
будет.
reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans
Вот эти
have
вот
truly
стёбы
been
над
asking for.
сиквелами, над
Now, to
старыми
be
частями
clear,
здесь
I
просто
haven't quite
прекрасно.
nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of
Ну и
interesting
над собой,
concepts,
конечно.
that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific. Or here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Проверь фигурку, наверное, собрана ли она.
Фігурку першу?
Ну, collectibles.
Ну, ж кажу першу.
Ну да.
Зараз collectibles у нас там.
Опять же, я просто не знаю, насколько важно потрогать здесь все Или оно будет считать, что...
Out of order.
А, все, хорошо. Интересно, бесконечная дыра уже маленькая.
Подивитись?
А, хотя, стоп, нет, она после того, как перезапустилась, она, по идее, должна была снова стать бесконечной. Ну,
Окей.
большой.
Зараз я все ж таки піду до сеттінгсів.
Да.
Aha! I can see you've gotten the settings world champion.
Ну, я тут вже поставив 1000.
Achievement well done. You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So, just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called bumpscosity. What exactly is bumpscosity? Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I just know that you'll be able to adjust it on some sort of slider, and that it'll be available from the settings menu. We'll sort the rest of the details out later. I hope you're looking forward to trying out every level of bumpscosity in the Stanley Parable 2.
Логічно.
Ну, тут разве что ведро можешь взять. Больше я... Ну, если найдешь что-то еще. Я больше вообще не помню ничего.
А решта фігурок?
Но тут их, кажется, нет. По крайней мере, ну вот ты сейчас, кажется...
Is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and a common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing.
Мне кажется, ты уже прошел почти все места на этой выставке. Ну, то есть, ты уже был везде.
Можливо.
Опять же, если ты помнишь место, где ты не был.
It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2. Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted or not. Get Well Someday it is.
А, нет, просто двери закрыты были.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Що нам ще треба?
Ну смотри, Jump Circle были, Map, да, Achievement, да.
Free achievement, не.
Free achievement это та штука, которая не работает.
Да.
Ну, ты там был.
Ну, я там був.
Ну да. Я к тому, что ты уже посмотрел. Мерч нечего. Это был. Это взял. Это просто эпилог тоже. Collectibles тоже. Infinite Hall тоже. Exit. Ну, остался, видимо, только Exit. В любом случае, ты можешь сюда вернуться.
Ага.
Вроде как. Да.
Окей. Де там exit? І як тут вийти? Ага, бачу.
Да, вот так.
Окей.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Це воно спочатку буде.
Ну, почти.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ну, принаймні
Stanley
прикраси
decided to
з'явились.
go to the meeting room.
Mhm.
Perhaps he had simply... Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Якщо я зістрибнув, буде як в оригіналі?
Не помню.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked
might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket,
Нет.
his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they
То
might
що, мені
die in one
тепер
another's
перепроходити всю
arms.
гру?
How deeply touching.
Да. Поэтому я предлагаю на сегодня на этом
Да.
закончить, потому что уже 4-й час, но как видишь... О, sequel is now paused. У тебя теперь открывается фактически новая игра. Ну, то есть у тебя теперь разделение. Ты можешь играть в старую Stanley Parable, не трогая ведро, и можешь брать его с собой. И это
Логично.
уже новая игра, и там не просто меняются реплики, скажем